Good morning guys. So in today's class what we are going to say is make sum divisible by p, which is today's take problem. Let's go through the problem. Given an array of positive integers nums, remove the smallest subarray, possibly empty, okay, such that the sum of the remaining element is divisible by p. It is not allowed to remove the whole array. Return the length of the smallest subarray that you need to remove on -1. Okay, so if it isn't possible, the subarray is defined as a continuous block of elements in an array. Okay, so what there's let's go through the example so you will get what is the problem is. So they have given you an array, and what they're asking is you need to make this array as divisible by the p, which is 6 here. Okay, so what you can do is you can remove an element. So the most optimal you can do is without removing an element, which is if the sum is divisible by 6 you can return 0, or else you can either remove one element and make it is divisible by 6, then you can return 1, which is you are removing one element. If you are removing continuous block of 2 or 3 to make it divisible by 6, then you need to return the length of that. And what they're asking is they're asking the minimum length that you should need to remove, and you need to make this array as a divisible by 6. Let's take this example. So the sum of elements in num is 10, which is if you're adding the each and every element you will be getting 10, which is not divisible by 6. Yeah, it is 10 is not divisible by 6. Okay, we can remove this subarray of 4, which is if you take 10 is the element, and if you modulo it by 6, what you get is you won't get 0, you get 4, right? So what you need to check is the minimum subarray which generates you the remainder of 4, that you need to check. Here there is an value is 4, so you are removing this. Let's consider if value 4 is not there. Let's consider they have given this 4 as 2 as 2. There it is. Okay, let's take the same example. 3 1 2 2 2. Now the sum is 10, right? So and let's consider the same value p. Let's say the p is equal to 6. Now what you do is you modulo it by p. So what you get is you get 4. You need to remove the element 4 from this. So there is no element 4 here. So then what are the ways you can create 4 here is you can create 3 1, which is a possible, or 2 comma 2. These are the two possible ways, and both the ways are giving you the length of 2. So the minimum length you can attain is 2, so you need to return 2. Okay, so this is the problem here. So let's go through the second example. So you can't remove a single element to get a sum divisible by 9. The best way is to remove the subarray 5 comma 2. So if you are removing 5 comma 2, you will be getting 6 comma 3, which is divisible by 9. And for when you go for example 3 1 2 3, the element 3, so if you sum this, it is 6, so which is divisible by 3. So no elements should need to be removed from that array to make it divisible by 3, because it is already divisible by 3. So that is what we are going to do here. Okay, so what you do is you make the sum of entire array, and you check whether it is divisible by the p. If it is divisible by p, we return 0. Okay, or else what you can do is you need to modulo that, and you need to take the remainder. You need to have the sum of that array. After having the sum of that array, if it is modulo by p is equal to 0, what you can do is you can simply return 0, or else what you need to do is you need to have a target. So which is target is equal to sum modulo by p, because this is the remainder which you want to check, which you are trying to attain in this array, so that if you remove the target, which is the remainder, then it automatically becomes the divisible by 3. So that is what it is. Okay, if it is not, if the entire array is not divisible by 3, there is one more possibility, which is we need to go through the each and every element in the array. Okay, in this case we are going through like okay, let's take this example, which is 10. We try whether it is divisible by 6. No, it is not divisible by 6. So what the remainder we get divisible by 6, we get 4. We try to attain 4 here, so which is 3 and 1 and 4. 4 itself it is remainder of 0. 4 itself it is in 4. So we got the actual number. So what we can return is we can return 1, because if you remove this, it automatically becomes divisible by 6. So that is what it is. Okay, now let's go through the, now write a code for this. Let's say there is an let's take this long, because in some case if the inputs are long, have greater numbers, so that will be useful. Okay, so for int sorry, num of nums sum plus equal to num, which is you are adding the, you are making the sum of the entire array. So after making the sum, what you check is if sum modulo by p equal to 0, return 0, right? Which is, if already the sum is divisible by 0, you can make it 0. And that is one more condition: if sum is lesser than p, you need to return -1. Because if sum is lesser than p, even by removing the entire elements also we can't able to. So there is a case we should not remove the entire element. So if the sum is lesser than p, we will be always getting the remainder. We will be getting the remainder. We can't able to make the entire array which is divisible by p, because it is not attaining p. At least of once it should need to attain. Okay, so it is not doing that. So for that, this condition. Okay. And after that we have a target. So again we use a long here. So target is equal to sum modulo by p, which is, now what we have checked is, we checked whether sum is lesser than p, we return -1, or else if the total array is divisible by p, we return 0, which is no element should need to be removed. And if the both conditions are not there, there is something should need to be removed from the array to make it is divisible by p. So we are getting the target which you want to remove. Okay, after that what we have is, we have a hash map. So integer comma integer. So let's call it as map equal to new hash map. Okay, now we have a new hash map. After new hash map, what we need is, we need a result of something like what to say, we need a res. So this is what we are going to return. So this is nothing but of int is equal to, initially it will be like nums dot length, because at max we can like delete entire elements from the array, so which is the length. Okay, and after that we make sum is equal to 0. So and what we do is, for int I is equal to 0, I is lesser than nums dot length I plus plus, and here comes the catch. So if nums of that I modulo by p equal to 0, return 1. What we do is, we check for each and every element. If that element is divisible by, if it is itself it is divisible by p, we can return and okay, it gives the target. It gives the target. Then what it means is, if we delete that element, the remaining elements in the array cumulatively becomes the sum which is divisible by p. So we are removing that. Or else what we can do is, we can do a so we say sum plus equal to nums of I. Now we add the element to the sum. After adding it, what you have is, you have int a, which is sum modulo p. Okay, and we have integer b, which is sum minus target modulo by p. Okay, now what we check is, if that key is contained in the map or not. If map dot contains key, we get that and update the res. So res is equal to math dot min of I minus map dot get b, or else it will be res. And after that we update the actual map. So map of map dot put a comma b, sorry, a comma I. So this is the for loop. And at last what we check is, so they have mentioned we should not delete the entire array from the entire array to make it divisible by 0, sorry, make it divisible by p. So what we check is, if result haven't changed, what it means is, to make it divisible by 3 we need to add the entire array, we need to remove the entire array. So if result still has the value of nums dot length, what it means is, we don't find any subarray to be removed to make it as valid as divisible by 6. That is what it means. So that is what we are checking. So simply we say return res equal to that nums dot length. If it is divisible by nums dot length, what we return is, we return -1, or else we return res, okay, which is updated. Let's run this. Okay, this is nums dot length, and what is there? Okay, we need to convert this into int. Here also I have given num, small typo. Yeah, let's submit this. Wrong answer. Wait, what happened? Okay, so we haven't added the case of if that map is 0. So map dot put 0 comma -1. I think this is the test case. Let's use this test case and check. Yeah, again what happened? Okay, it is getting too long. Some written -1 if some are low. Should we say this? HashMap integer map. Yeah, we got this also. And okay, this could be the possible, I think so. Yeah, I think this making this sum as int and converting this as like this, so that is why. And except that, I don't think anything I have got here. Okay, yeah, that's why. Okay guys, yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. So if you enjoyed this, do a like, share and comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Okay.